to today's session. My name is Megan Frazier. I'm the Marketing and Operations Manager here at PTLU. I am so happy to join you for how AI can and can't advance your career relaunch. I will be manning the chat today. Feel free to drop your questions in there. We might have time to answer them at the end. This session is being recorded and broadcast. The recording will be sent to all participants after the event. Our speakers today are 𝗔𝗜 𝗛𝗲𝗍𝗃 and Kelley Biskupiak, co-founders of Prepare to Launch You, a company dedicated to helping women successfully navigate work and life transitions. With deep experience in tech, education, and executive coaching, Susan and Kelley have guided thousands of women back into fulfilling careers after a break. Today's session is packed with actionable tips and insights on the timely and relevant topic of AI in the job search. We're confident you'll walk away with valuable takeaways and maybe even a few aha moments. So let's dive in. I'm going to give it over to Susan. She's going to start up her slides.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy to be here and talking on a moving target of a topic here today, the world of AI and tech. And we're excited to bring this information to you. And like I said, it's a moving target, right? Like we
did this several months ago, or probably
now,
6 months ago. We're doing it again. I had to redo the content. So it's probably changed since I updated the slides on Monday, on Sunday. Let's dive right in. All right. So a little bit about us. We can see some of our graduates on this call. We know that we have a lot of others that don't know us yet that have signed up for the recording. So we're both moms of 4 who took career breaks and successfully returned to work.
And we have a combined 40+ years of experience helping women from across the globe navigate work and life transitions. And we're widely recognized experts in this lane.
And as Megan said, we have a really nice complement of business and education experience, lots of direct hiring and recruiting experience. So we have those kinds of insights. And we are now embracing AI in our own work. And we're experiencing the good and the bad.
Absolutely.
We've been exposed to tools through some of our partnerships that just didn't work for us. We've had others that are great. And like you, trying to just parse out what will help me and what won't. That's kind of what we want to focus on today.
Yeah, and we just, our goal for today is to help you determine when and how technology can help or hurt you in the job search.
All right. So the goals for today, we're going to talk about what AI tools you may encounter during the search from the company perspective, why companies use them, and what tools you can use as well.
Right. And then we're going to get into the how, right? So the different AI tools that can help or hinder you in the key phases of your job search, but specifically with resume writing, networking, applying for jobs, interviewing, and even in negotiating, how you can be using them. And then when to use those AI tools and when to stick with the tried and true low tech approach.
We're big believers in that one.
So what are AI tools? What AI tools will your ideal employer be using and why? So let's dive into this because I think it's really good to be educated on how employers are actually using AI tools.
And it's not always obvious.
No.
I mean, first of all, anytime you apply for a job online, AI is driving the algorithm that scans, evaluates, and either dumps your resume or puts or moves it along. A recent poll just from this fall or summer by Forbes said that 84% of employers believe that these tools are helping them in the process of hiring people.
And with job descriptions, right?
Yeah, they write. So AI can write their job descriptions, usually does, using the AI to power the job board that evaluates those job applications. AI is also used often to screen candidates. It's used to create online tests and assessments of candidates, both the human part and then the work part. So if you're a tech person, AI will be driving those tech exams that you have to take, or assessments, they call them. And there are also bots that conduct interviews and or will evaluate your video interview to determine whether you're moved on or not.
And we hear this in real time from our graduates of the program that are actively in the search and the job search and are going through the interview process, where bots are being used and how that can throw you off your game a little bit. So you just want to be prepared that that is an option and that's the way it's being used in job.
It's unfortunate, but And then employers are now using aggregate data sites and AI to give you an offer. So you weren't going to see, years ago, you could see a lot of difference in or variation in offers, both in
This
terms
company,
of,
that
yeah,
company.
just base pay, but also incentive pay and benefit packages. But now companies are using these tools to kind of stay in line.
Right.
And you can use those tools as well to be informed when you're in the middle of doing a negotiation.
And all of that being said, at the end of the day, only a human decides whether or not to hire you. So just, you can keep that tucked in your back pocket. All right, so what AI tools can you use and why? This is an important factor, and we're gonna really,
This is where we're gonna
we're
really
really
spend
gonna
time.
dig in and break this down, but just to give you a basic overview.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, you can use AI to write a resume. Will it write a good one? That's negotiable. I mean, that's definitely up for debate. We'll talk about that later. But you can, you can use it to help you just maybe create a more visually engaging resume, or maybe one that is more grammatically correct as well, other than just writing your organic.
Sometimes it's just the structure, right? Just developing that structure to work off of.
LinkedIn being the premier networking platform, LinkedIn is powered by AI. You are more likely to land a job by applying on LinkedIn than through an aggregate job board. It's a very, very good networking tool. That was the whole reason it was designed. So aside from being a job board where you can apply, if you can use it as a networking tool, you'll increase, as I said, 10 times your chance of landing a job. And then there are special tools that are used for things like answering interview questions, writing cover letters, practicing interview questions, evaluating your interview questions, evaluating your resume, evaluating your cover letter. So a lot of evaluative tools as well for the content you've already created. And then insight, as I mentioned earlier, from sites like Glassdoor or Payscale or Salary.com, and you can say, what should I expect to be paid for this job? The beauty of this, particularly for women, which is our audience, is that you're not entering into a negotiation with a blindfold on.
Right.
And this plays to your weakness. As a gender, we do not ask for more money. There's tons of data to support that. It's much easier if you know going in what you're supposed to make.
Exactly.
If you don't go in knowing what you're supposed to make, you won't know to ask for more.
And it makes you a shrewd negotiator, which is something we like to.
Yeah, and really levels the playing field in this case.
Yeah. All right, so what we're going to do over the next span of slides is we're going to break down all of those areas that we talked about to give you the meat of information that you can take and use in your job search. So we're going to really dig in now to resume. So let's talk about the content, the format, and the compatibility. Let's talk about those things.
So the content is the message.
Right.
The format is how does it look? How does it present? The compatibility is what's your fit?
Right.
How well does it fit for the job that you're applying for or interested in? So I'm going to preface this by saying there are so many sites that can provide resume writing support. I picked 3. I looked at probably at least a dozen, and that was just on the first page of the search. There's so many. These have some good reviews, and you know, I picked those 3. This is by no means a complete list. But what these do, and some of them are free, many of them are free, but then to really get the good help, you have to pay. But it can be simple things like help me format my experience section, help me write my about section, help me create the whole resume, help me optimize my resume. Optimization basically means that you are incorporating the keywords and phrases that are part of the job description of that particular posting or that are germane to that industry. It's really just keywords, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. General tools like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is free. And it's so easy to use. And again, this can either write your resume for you, or it can scan your resume and scan it against your career goals and see if you're hitting those key areas that you need to attract that audience. Similarly, in that scan idea, job scan will do the same thing. It'll take your resume, it'll take a job description, it'll scan them and give you a score. LinkedIn has something similar. The LinkedIn Builder, which we'll talk about in a moment, your digital resume, same thing. It'll tell you how well are you creating this page to attract the people that you want to attract. Another way to use for resume creation, again, to make it more visually appealing, is to use sites like Canva or Halloum or even Etsy, where you can buy a format that you like. again, to make your resume stand out.
Right. If you don't want to get lost in the weeds of, you know,
Mhm.
especially when you're writing a resume, sometimes it's like you circle the drain of the more difficult parts. So it's like you get lost
Yeah.
in the format or how you want the layout to look or the coloring or
Right,
whatever
right.
it might
No,
be.
right.
Those particular sites will help you. But at the end of the day, Susan, I mean, really the likelihood of landing a job by applying given all that information
Yeah.
online is slim, like 10 to 20%.
Right. So, I mean, that, you know, depending whose data you want to believe,
Right.
I believe it's probably less than 10% for this population. But the key here is that all of these tools
Right.
are just designed to help you create a resume that's going to get through a job board. And you just don't have a good likelihood of doing that anyway. So why would you want to put your effort there?
Right. You don't want to put a ton of time in trying to beat that.
And you don't want to be optimizing because
Yeah.
it's just not going to be a good use of your time.
Well, and this has been sort of our argument for a long time
Mhm.
now, that resume writers will sell you into these large packages
Mhm.
of I'm optimizing your resume so it's going to make it through the algorithm when you're applying online. And we really believe there's just your best chance is going to happen through networking.
Definitely. Right.
And job.
The other thing is, I mean, we call applying online posting and praying, which is really all it is.
Yeah.
If you instead, and we'll talk about this in the coming slides, use your network to get direct referrals or to identify jobs before they're even posted, because only about half of all jobs are ever posted before they're filled. Then you're using your tools, your voice, your skills in a much more effective and productive way.
Right. All right, so now we're going to move on to cover letters. Yes, you must write a cover letter. You have to have one, and these tools can help you with that. So let's.
A couple of things about cover letters before you even start. One is if I'm an employer and I had 5,000 candidates apply for my job, and 100 of them were forwarded to me as, you know, they made it through the algorithm, and 20 of them have a cover letter, I'm much more interested in the ones that took the time to write the cover letter. There are now sites, I did not include them here because I would never recommend you use them, but there are now AI tools that will take your resume,
right,
and send it. You don't have to even go to the sites. You can say,
So
these are the
crazy.
jobs that I want, and it will automatically send your resume to, you know, 100 jobs, and then you just, you know, post and pray. Because
and you feel like you got accomplished a lot that
I
day.
applied to 100 jobs. As the employer now, I know that those tools are available. I know that
Yeah.
that there's a likelihood that you never even looked at my website, that you don't even know what the job
Right.
is, that some bot provided your application for you. When you take the time to write a cover letter for me, then I know that you're genuinely interested.
Right.
So big believers in cover letters. Cover letters can be hard to write. There are tools like Coverler and Resume Genius. The others that I mentioned on the prior slide, like 𝗛𝗏 and Resume Builder, they can help you create a custom cover letter based on your specs. If you write fairly well, Grammarly is another great tool, as I mentioned earlier, just to make sure that you're writing things properly. I will say that in this day and age, if I see a cover letter or a resume with grammatical errors or spelling errors, it's just, to me, that's just lazy. Because it's so easy to prevent those now. Even just our basic word processing provides.
Well, and it's really your first introduction, like your first entree to whoever you're having this conversation with, right? So
the LinkedIn Learning platform also has some cover letter templates and some instruction. And the evaluative feature in ChatGPT can scan your cover letter. So you would input into ChatGPT, here's my cover letter, here's the job description, here's my resume. Is this good?
Right.
I mean, it'll come back and tell you what was good, what wasn't good. For those of you who really struggle with writing, and I know there are people who just really struggle with writing at all, ChatGPT can be used to write your cover letter or your resume as a foundational step where you use that and then you edit that into your voice. That would be only if you really, really struggle with writing. Because at the end of the day, you need to write this in your voice. It has to sound like you. One of the rules we have in our course, we have a checklist that our students use when they're writing their resumes, and there's a whole bank of words you cannot say because everybody says them. And you need to understand this. People, you've heard of LLMs, large language models. That's what AI uses. It basically uses all of the information that's out there to provide you with guidance. I can tell you from my very long career, almost 40-year career, 99% of resumes are written like crap. They stink. I would say even of those that are paid for by providers who write custom resumes, 50% of them I would never put out in the world.
Mhm.
So if AI is using all of these large language models, all of this data from crappy resumes to write yours, I mean, crap gets crap.
Right.
So I know I'm sounding harsh, but it's the way it works.
Well, you're just, yeah.
I'm telling it like it is, because we think, oh, this is so great, the computer's going to think of this. It only is as good as what you feed it, and what's being fed is not good quality.
Well, and I think just this last point in here that you could do the reverse of what you're saying. So you could make an attempt in your own voice to write your cover letter and then send it through ChatGPT to just help you, soften it or polish it or check for grammar and flow.
As
And
long as you would instruct it to do that, because if you
Exactly.
don't, its default instruction will say, you need to have these keywords in this cover letter.
yes, and that is the key. So if you're writing it in your own voice and then you're teeing it up to work for you, please check this cover letter for
Yeah.
grammar and flow. It will help clean things up
Mhm.
and it will still be you in the essence of it. And that's what we want, because the other piece of ChatGPT that we talk to our students, our graduates about is it makes that soullessness. Right?
Yes.
Like it's
Well, you're
just
going to see, I
some-
actually have an example later on that you can see what it looks like between someone writing their own and someone using ChatGPT. But again, some people, they get a writing assignment and they just freeze. If that's the case, let ChatGPT
Start
give
it
you,
up for you.
and then just go through that iterative process of editing it, changing it, making it sound
putting
like
your
you.
own voice in there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Giving it life and
Yeah.
like a human wrote it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to move on to LinkedIn now. And again, you must have a good LinkedIn profile in this day and age. This we find, and we have tons of graduates on the call right now, but it's like, this is something that's built into our course and we're always updating. We're always changing this particular,
Because
lesson.
LinkedIn's constantly changing.
Yes.
So the builder tool, and I'll show you a little example of it later. The builder tool will help you create the page that's going to be the most effective for you. Canva, a great site for graphics, can help you with a banner. Resume Worded, and again, 𝗏𝗍, the same tools that will help you with resume very often will help you with LinkedIn as well. They will help you analyze, they'll help you write it. They'll also make recommendations to optimize it. But remember, optimization just means keywords. And let me just say, it's not bad in and of itself to have a keyword in your resume.
No.
What's bad is when you're forcing them in.
Or they're like misplaced.
Yes,
almost,
yeah.
and then that's all you're reading.
And when there's nothing in human language to really describe to me what you did, where you did it, how you did it.
Right.
So we just don't want that to be your key focus.
But the thing with a LinkedIn profile is that you have to use it.
Yes.
Right. Because that is speaking to the algorithm.
Yeah. So it used to be just a place to connect.
Right.
But now it's a place to connect, find jobs, find clients. And the only way to make sure that you're seen, aside from applying for jobs on LinkedIn, is to post.
Yeah.
And that's the video we wanted you to do, Megan.
Yeah, we have a video that we just released on YouTube.
I think so, or it's coming up soon.
Yeah. And it's specifically about this sort of hierarchy of how you can move yourself towards posting more on LinkedIn, because this is the place where people do struggle when it comes to being on a social platform.
Yeah.
It can feel really uncomfortable. So we give you a little bit of direction in that YouTube video on how to do that with a ramp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so now let's move on to the searching and the matching. So this is not networking that we're talking about yet. We're talking about searching in the job search and then matching your skill set to a job. So let's break this down.
So again, LinkedIn is very good at this because it can provide job recommendations for you. Indeed as well. If they have information about you, they will tell you, they'll alert you saying this job might be interesting to you. It's funny because I have none of my job alerts on and I still get them.
I know, I do too.
All I get are like CEO ones, which cracks me up.
Do you get them texted to you like through text now?
Not from LinkedIn.
People,
but I have recruiters.
Yes,
oh, not
through
LinkedIn.
text that are that are actually sending me messages.
Yeah,
I
mean, I've never been a
Kelley.
CEO.
Kelley, we're such good friends that I text you and
here's a job.
Here's a job for you.
Right. You can set up your own alerts, which what we recommend is, yes, use job boards to become educated.
Absolutely.
Use job boards to find out if you see that one company has a ton of postings, well, they're doing well. There's a chance that there might be an opportunity there in your field, even if one isn't posted. Use them to learn what kinds of roles are being most sought in a somewhat fickle job market. You'll see there probably aren't a lot of HR jobs, but a lot of maybe more sales jobs, because that's less likely to be cut because it's how people bring revenue in. Whatever. Use them to educate. Use them to learn about language, to learn about jobs. Use ChatGPT to compare your resume to a job description, right? Job descriptions are long, and they have a lot of bullets, because what they're written, the way they're written now is more defensively. If I'm writing a job description, I'm trying to get as few applicants as I can.
Yes.
So I'm going to throw things in there that don't really matter.
You're going to show them later in.
I'm going to show a couple of examples.
Yeah, how you can distill that down.
The LinkedIn Premium Sales Navigator tool, that is a premium tool, but it does offer a little bit more guidance based on your profile and where you might want to look. There's a track called Shield that can track your LinkedIn engagement to identify what content is resonating best with your audience. This is a paid tool. This is probably more important for people who need to or want to establish themselves as subject matter experts in an area. Maybe they're looking for clients as opposed to a job. But if your job is senior level and you do want to establish yourself as an expert in that subject, then using a site like that to help you maximize your engagement. This will talk to you about not just content, but when you post and where you post.
Eightfold.
An Eightfold, which is an AI tool, and then also LinkedIn and Indeed will also make those same kinds of connections between you and a job, but they might go, Eightfold in particular might go a little deeper into things that you might not have been considering before, whereas LinkedIn and Indeed is going to use your search history as kind of its primary data source.
Right, so now we're going to look at networking, and this, and like really we bold this at the top. This is a complement to that face-to-face networking. We are strong believers in the face-to-face, talking human to human, but there are ways to do that in the virtual world, and we want to highlight those. So ResuMatch and JobScan, which one of those was mentioned earlier, they can scan your LinkedIn profile to make and show you who is this going to attract. And then you can determine, is this who I'm trying to attract? So we talk about this a lot. There are a lot of things that either one of us can do, but if we're writing a resume, we're focusing on those things we want to do. Absolutely.
For example, for fun, I'm a yoga, Pilates, and bar instructor. I would not be putting that on LinkedIn. I'm not looking, that's something I do for fun. So one thing, this is just a nice objective way for you think you've written it for the right audience. This is one way to see if you really have.
This is a great tool for our graduates of our program, because you've really written a refined resume that's in your lane to your audience. So to put it through this, but
again, remember that they're using the data that's available to them. So they're going to be looking for keywords. LinkedIn and AI will make LinkedIn's AI will make connection recommendations for you based on what you're looking for. You do want to consider those seriously, unless they look scary. Then Hootsuite, which many of you have heard of, and Buffer, which I had not heard of, they can help you manage your social media calendar. So I mentioned something similar on the last page for just LinkedIn, but this can be for other platforms as well, because if you are trying to establish yourself as a subject matter expert, using multiple platforms is the way to do that. Again, this would be more for people who are looking for maybe C-suite or SVP levels, or people who are looking to attract clients. And then LinkedIn is where we spend most of our time, because it's such a valuable tool, and even the free version offers so much. One of the strategies that we teach in our programs is to use the pages of the companies that interest you to do some looking. One of my favorite strategies for some of my personal clients is to go to the company page and find 8 people who are doing the work that you want to do. So I did this with my niece. This is when I first figured out how to do this. I did this with my niece, and we cut and pasted the LinkedIn pages of 5 people who were in like business BDR roles. She was going to tech sales, and we plopped it into ChatGPT. And what did it, the number one thing it found from I think it might've been 10, all these 10 employees, is that they were all Division I athletes. And my niece had just graduated from Boston College as the captain of their NCAA #1 team in the world. And so that's not something she would always have it on her resume, but it was never something she led with. So when she applied to this company, she led with it, because she could see that 9 of the 10 people that were doing this role were Division I athletes. That is not something that is something that we could have done on our own. It would have required us to read 10 LinkedIn profiles, take notes,
Right.
try to find where the
Hours
commonality
of your
was, right.
time. Yeah.
Great use of ChatGPT for that.
Yeah.
So using company pages, going to the university or colleges that you attended and looking for people who work at the companies that interest you.
Absolutely.
And networking with them. We have a strategy we call Connect, Message, Meet, and Megan's going to drop a template in there, and there should be a video as well on YouTube that really teaches that strategy.
Yeah.
It's very specific, and it's very, very effective.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So a couple of other things. Accept invitations from recruiters on LinkedIn. Even if the job doesn't interest you, take the 5-minute phone call if they're offering a phone call and start letting them know what you are interested in. Keep those relationships going. A good recruiter who sees you as a good candidate that relationship can be very beneficial because you're making their job easier in the end. And make sure you follow all of the organizations, companies or nonprofits that interest you on both LinkedIn and on X, so you can continuously get the most up-to-date information on their big news.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to talk about interviewing, and there are a number of tools that have really come on the scene, and they can help you help you with your interview prep and performance. And as we know, practice is what makes a good interview. So when everybody that is a live human being is sick of doing it with you, the virtual world can help you out with that.
That's right. So I mentioned that first bullet already, using ChatGPT to figure out who are they interviewing, who are they hiring, so that you can kind of prepare your stories to answer in a way that's similar to those people. I love the idea of visiting online forums where candidates can just tell you, they talk about, well, I just interviewed here and these are the questions they asked me. Reddit would be a good place for that too, if you use Reddit.
This happens in our PTLU community, that when a student goes out and they've gone through the interview process, they're in our chat, our chat forum that we have, our private chat forum, and they're talking about, here was a question I got, everyone, just to alert you, be prepared for this, this version of a question possibly on your interview. Yeah.
So great way to get some ideas about questions. About your performance, there are a lot of tools available. Our two favorite are Interview Prep, which is right on LinkedIn and it's free. I think. I got to check that actually. Megan, can you check that for us? I don't know if it's a premium tool or not. I think it's free though. I'm going to show you how to access that. But in that case, LinkedIn provides a question. You record your answer, and an AI evaluates and gives you some feedback. Interview Warm-Up is another tool available by Google. There are others as well. For tech candidates who have to do a real-time exercise, there are tools that provide that. Interviewing.io is one, and Cramp is another. Tech interviews are a very different animal, and they require more and different preparation. And then there are tools like Big Interview, where it provides a little bit more coaching. And then, but they also offer a library of questions to choose from. And they are constantly updating their library. So kind of like visiting the forums, you can get that information here.
But at the end of the day, you cannot be prepared for every question that you're going to get. And instead, it's just that it's anticipating, it's thinking about themes and preparing really good stories, because that's going to help you the best when it comes to interviewing.
Yeah.
All right, Susan, the answer to your question is the LinkedIn interview prep is free for all members, but if you're a premium LinkedIn member, you can have some exclusive sample answers provided, but you are able to access the interview prep just as a general user.
Good.
You heard it here, people. All right. So the last one that we're going to cover with you today is that negotiating piece. And yes, you can use you can use these AI tools in negotiation, but let's talk about that. Let's dig into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, knowledge is power. If you show up at an interview knowing what you should be expecting for an offer, you're going to be in a position to negotiate more credibly and more confidently. So the three big players are Glassdoor, which used to be just an evaluative site where people wrote reviews, which is still good. The problem with those is that you tend to get more people who are dissatisfied will post, just like it is with any review of a restaurant or a store. But you can get real-time data about pay. PayScale is another one, salary.com. Most of them are location specific. So if you live in San Francisco, you should expect to have an offer that's more generous than someone doing the same job in, Oklahoma City. Glassdoor also provides that evaluative data that I mentioned about the culture, about the leadership, et cetera. And I find that valuable. Then LinkedIn has a salary insights tool. I believe that is free as well. And it offers aggregate salary data based on listings on the platform. So it's going to look at all, say, the senior project manager titles, and it's going to look at the salaries. The problem with that is that it's not really nimble like some of these other, because you can't slice it by industry or by region.
Okay.
And old fashioned, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, has the most complete source of aggregate data on benefits and pay. It's just a little clunky.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if you could just copy some of that and put in
you
chat.
might be able to. Be a lot of pages. It's finding the right pages is a little tricky there.
All right. So we wanted to give you some real examples to help you, just so you can kind of see and navigate on your own when you get to your own LinkedIn profile.
So this is my page. If I go to my settings, I'm going to see this list of this menu. And I can go to Resume Builder. It's going to give me a percentage score of where I am and where I could do better. For example, some people don't even include the featured section. The featured section is a place for you to show, this is a presentation I did. This was a document I created. This was an interview I did. And I, as someone who is brought in to hire executives, I will look at that. I'm going to see, what are they talking about? So for example, if you haven't enabled that section, LinkedIn would say, you could have this much better score if you activated your features section and added a couple of featured, presentations or documents. And then you'll see the interview prep right here. The interview prep tool is very easy to use. You look into the light, you answer the question, and it comes back and gives you a review. Again, is this as good as having a real experienced interviewer doing it? No, it's one of many tools. And that's the whole idea today. It's looking at different tools to help you with your search. None of them replaces working with another human being, working with an accountability partner, taking a course, working with a coach. That will never be replaced by AI, but it can be enhanced.
Sometimes though, because a lot of people have anxiety around interviewing and their stress level is up, this is a great place to start. Low stakes.
Nobody knows you're doing it.
Nobody knows you're doing it. That's, a bot on the other side. It's you in the comfort of your own home doing this. So it might just be a good, dip your toe in the pond.
For sure.
Okay. All right, so here are examples. So we want to give you an example.
And this is
how to use ChatGPT specifically.
Because it's free.
Yeah.
And everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, so for resumes, you submit your info and you ask.
So if you have your resume done, cut and paste it, stick it into ChatGPT and say, can you please scan my resume? And no, this was a job description one.
Yeah.
But for writing your resume or writing your cover, can you list the most important skills of this job description so I can make sure that I have in my resume? Can you look at my resume next to this job description and tell me if I'm clicking most of the bullets? Can you take this narrative about my experience and put it into bullet form?
Right.
And make it sound better?
Yeah.
These are things that you can ask it.
Yeah. Okay. And then for your LinkedIn profile, you can submit your resume and ask.
You could
you're taking your resume.
Yeah, and just say, can you write a first person narrative about section for LinkedIn that's engaging and interesting?
Again, using what we spoke to you about before, that's kind of your template that you're going to do, but you're going to give it its life and its soul and bring you.
And this is only if you can't write. Alternatively, if you take a stab at it yourself, you could do the reverse. You could put in your about section and say, I'd like you to edit this and see if you can make it more lively and engaging.
Yeah.
And see what it comes out.
Add personality. Okay. So for networking, you can submit a person's LinkedIn info and ask, what are this person's top 10 professional skills and top 5 personality qualities? So this is helpful in networking, right?
In networking, when you're meeting with someone, especially if you're meeting with someone kind of a grade or two above, where you might be a little intimidated. Their LinkedIn page might be very long. They might have been working for 28 years. And this is a way to call that down. Like, these are the things that this person really does well. These are what the AI can glean as personality attributes just to help you when you're meeting with that
Yeah,
person.
it gives you those talking points, and people love to talk about themselves. So, and they love to know that you've done a little bit extra to get to know who they are first. All right. So for intel on companies' hiring patterns, you can submit several employees on LinkedIn, like their experience.
Which is what I did with my niece.
And then ask this question.
Yeah. Just what are the 5 skills that or experiences that these people have in common?
Right.
It's a job description may talk about what they want, but very often, and I know this as a hiring person, I will tweak what I want to take the person that I like.
Yeah.
And that it matters so much more. I always say 80% of every hiring decision is, do I want to see this person on the other side of the desk or the other side of the Zoom screen? It's true.
You know, what's funny? You always say that. And I've been thinking about what's the essence of that?
Yeah.
It's that human connection. They just want to have that feeling of, I feel connected to this person. And then this is like allowing you because connection comes from people feeling like they're seen. So
the connection is essential, especially if it's a small team. If I'm interviewing at the higher level, equally important is it a good culture fit? Because I may not have a lot in common with this. Like I don't have a whole lot in common with an application developer. They think very differently than I do, but I do want to make sure that I'm comfortable with that person, that they're going to enhance the culture. They're going to fit into the culture of our organization.
Yeah. 100%. Okay. And then for interviewing, you can submit a job posting and your resume, right? And then you're going to ask this question.
So, and I'm going to give an example, but this is one where I want to sound really knowledgeable when I walk in here. And I want to make sure I have a couple of good questions. Anybody who's watched any of our videos, taken any of our programs knows that the most important question, and if you only have time for that for 10 seconds at the end of your interview, you're going to ask the close. If you don't know what a close is, then you're going to want to go to our YouTube channel and find that, because it is the only question that matters at the end of an interview. However, your questions throughout the interview can also reveal your level of knowledge, your sophistication, your fit. So sometimes you can ask ChatGPT, can you make some recommendations of good questions I could ask that might impress the hiring manager? It can also give you suggestions of how you might answer a question. I'm really afraid of getting asked the question, what qualifies me for this role over other people? Throw your resume in, throw the job description, see what ChatGPT comes up with. Again, these are thought starters. This is not the end. This is the beginning.
No. And this would be a great slide in this presentation to screenshot, just so you have some sentence starters for yourself when you get in there. All right. So this is how it works. Yeah.
All right. So this is what a ChatGPT screen looks like. And I said in this one, can you extract the 10 most desired skills for this job description? It was a job description for a project manager. I think it was Cigna, because we live in Connecticut. And the job description was, when I cut and pasted it, like it doesn't look that long because you're looking at it online. It just keeps going and going. When I printed it, it was about 7 pages long.
Yeah.
So I just dumped it in, and then it came out with this answer. Based on the job description posted of this project manager, here are the 10 most desired skills and qualifications. And it tells me, without me having to read 10 pages and rely on my own brain to cull through that much information. If I were only applying to one job, that would be doable. But we all know it's a numbers game. So we're networking to get in front of multiple hiring managers. This is a nice time saver. Okay.
And then this next slide takes that.
So this is the same data, the same project manager job at Cigna, the same information. And in this case, I was asking ChatGPT to give me some good sample questions that will make me stand out in an interview. And it came up with 10 really good, and they're actually pretty good questions. All right. So very different query on this. Oh, you know what? I made it bigger, so maybe.
Oh. Okay. Now it's a hand
there.
Now it's an arrow. Okay.
Oh, that's next. Okay.
Okay. So this next section here, we want to talk about where you should expect AI in your job search. So what are the stops along the way that you're going to have to interact with?
Pretty much
AI?
everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your interviews will be AI powered to some degree. So you might have a first interview with a chatbot, which is very unsettling. So you're looking at kind of a semi-human looking being, and
wild.
You're given a time limit You can redo your answers. You're not getting any feedback. That can be very intimidating. It's a good thing to practice. You might even have a phone interview with a live recruiter, but that call is being recorded.
Mhm.
And it's being evaluated by AI. And often, especially if they're Zoom interviews, they're recorded. Even if it's a full-on professional education interview where you're both facing each other, there are still many companies that will use AI to evaluate that interaction.
Yep. Yep. And then a lot of the assessments that are being put out now are listed, those personality assessments, behavioral. Some of these were already like, I mean,
Yeah,
years
a lot
and
of
years.
them are
If you had a big career break, you
Yeah.
probably were doing it like you were probably doing it hand to.
But they
paper.
weren't evaluated, they were scored. So
Right.
like the Myers-Briggs test, the Gallup
Right.
test, they were scored, but this is different.
Yeah.
They're not just looking at your answers, they're looking at patterns.
Yeah.
If there's any video involved, they're looking at how you answer like the Gallup, that test really from my perspective, they are just looking for you to answer the questions confidently and quickly. You lose if you vacillate,
Yeah.
you lose if you keep re-recording.
Right.
Depending on the kind of
Well,
job.
and some of them now are so intuitive, they start to, like, the questions are starting to narrow it down.
Oh, absolutely.
Based on who you are.
Yeah,
as you're
absolutely.
Going, as you're going. So that's for all of those assessments.
And if there's the technical is different. The technicals are typically proctored by a human because they want to make sure that you're doing the work real time, but graded, and not just graded, evaluated, watching your work process, watching your behavior as well. So it's really interesting how this tool is being used, or this technology is being used.
And we always like to talk about jobs because there are about 50 to 60% of them are actually posted, but there's a whole hidden job market. That's really where you can find some of your best jobs, right?
Absolutely. That's where most of our students are successful, is finding the job before it's posted.
So one thing AI can't do to tell your story is your career break story. And this is something that those of you that are students that have come through our course, you're going to know this and know this. Well, you better know this and you better know this well. But this is something that we really believe strongly in scripting. And so I'll let you take it away.
We script the close, we script this, because when you are returning to work after even a short career break, there's almost like a direct relationship between how long your break is and how much confidence you lose. But we've had students have a 1-year career break and have had a collapse of confidence just in that 1 year.
Absolutely.
So what we're trying to do is educate the public that when we take career breaks, we're not stopping working. Right. We're working differently. So the way we set it up, you use your own words, but point one is, I love my work. I was really good at it. It was a sacrifice to leave, whether I had elder care responsibilities, childcare responsibilities, spousal illness, whatever it is. It was a sacrifice to leave something that I loved and was doing really well at, but it's a decision I'm glad I made. That's number one. That's approaching it with confidence, directness. Second piece, during this time that I wasn't working in a conventional way, I tapped into and perfected and learned new skills through my advocacy work, through my caregiving, through my community leadership roles. Maybe it's project work that you've done or a couple of gigs. These are all the ways that I developed and perfected my skills. I wasn't sitting home watching Netflix with chocolate.
Maybe some days.
And then the third piece is bring it all together. You know, whatever your reason for leaving, whatever precipitated that sacrifice to leave work, whether it was elderly parents, young children, that has resolved itself. It is tied up with a bow, even if it really isn't, because we know life is never tied up with a bow, but for the purposes of this interview. And now I am ready and eager to bring both that foundational corporate experience that I had and this experience, these new experiences that I developed through community leadership and gig work back to the workplace. And I'm excited to talk to you today to see if we're a good fit.
So it's very, very scripted, but it gives you a really good way to teach people
a framework.
To teach people who you are. All right.
This was the one that was supposed to be earlier.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to see, I took this student.
We didn't catch that when we were.
I know.
Yeah.
This student who took our program wrote this profile in our program. And I took just her experience section and I put in ChatGPT and I said, please write a resume summary statement. Would you like to read it? It's just full. I mean,
Well, it probably pains you to read it. That's why you don't want
yeah,
to read
it's
it.
just full of crap.
Dynamic and results-driven communications professional with over 20 years of experience in a strategic branding, public relations, and project management across diverse industries, including CPG, retail, real estate, and senior living. Proven track record of delivering impact campaigns, such as leading influencer collaborations that drove 2 million in sales and developing brand strategies, contributing to 75 million in real estate transactions, skilled in crisis communications, creative content development, and stakeholder engagement. Experienced leader with a history of spearheading community. You're dying with all these.
It's actually not as terrible as a lot of things I've read.
This whole first part, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, cringe. Okay. Experienced leader with a history of spearheading community initiatives, driving organizational growth, and fostering mental health awareness through the nonprofit board leadership. Adept at building meaningful relationships and achieving measurable results, your favorite, with through innovative, audience-centered strategies. I'm
Now-
being very tongue-in-cheek about.
But most of you would read this, and I have to say, this is not as bad as a lot of stuff I see. Some of it doesn't belong in a summary statement. You're not putting dollars and revenue achievements in a summary statement. That's for your experience. It does say, answers the questions.
Yep.
What do you do?
Where
Where do you do it? I mean, a lot of
For
times it
who
won't.
and how.
It doesn't, yeah, it kind of does the
A little
how,
bit.
but there's just a lot of words in here and a lot of stuff that you have no idea who she is.
Well, and it just sounds like it could be anybody.
Exactly. This is what she wrote. Accomplished communicator with senior executive experience at leading global public relations agencies. Expertise across a variety of industries, working with top-tier organizations from batteries to bourbon to brokerages. Big idea, creative leader, and trained facilitator with a rare talent for hybrid thinking, equal parts strategic acumen and tactical expertise. Adept at framing unique brand identities to build architecture and create messaging that resonates across short and long form platforms. Whether a drum-beating furry pink icon or a local real estate mogul, Anne knows every brand has a story to tell, and she knows how to tell it. The problem with the ChatGPT is that it talks a little too much about her volunteer stuff. The mental health awareness was something that she did when she was home with her kids. It was based on a personal experience. It is not something she wants to do as a professional. It was a placeholder. It was showing that during these years that she was home for, I think, 16 years, she was leading initiatives and creating branding around them. It's not something she would have pulled out in a summary statement. And I think it's certainly not a question that's going to have any surprise answers, but which one is more alive? Which one makes you think, I want to meet her? Right?
I like her.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I feel like she's a human.
She is a human. So we kind of talked about this,
Mhm.
how AI can't replicate your voice.
Well, and that's a perfect example.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
a perfect example.
Garbage in, garbage out, as I said. When interviews are scripted by AI, again, they're written for anyone's voice, not yours. When AI evaluates your resume, it's not looking for, like, it probably would evaluate Anne's resume and give it bad marks because it's not optimizing keywords, but it's using words that are memorable. When you are a recruiter, even when those 5,000 resumes just become 100 or 50 on your desk, how many times can you read, I'm a results-oriented, measurement-driven servant leader? I mean, shoot me, because they all sound the same. But I read Anne's and I'm like, oh my God, this is so interesting.
Mhm.
And the irony here
Yeah.
is that it's very clear she's a writer. She's a
Right.
PR, upper middle
And it
management.
showcases that.
She should be writing beautifully. She should be writing creatively,
Mhm.
right?
And she did.
And she did on her
Mhm.
own.
Yep.
So again, I mean, the rest of these are all kind of saying the same thing.
Well, I think essentially on this slide, what it's saying is you are in charge of you.
Mhm.
We can use all of these tools, but at the end of the day, you are the one that's going to make the ultimate decision. Does this really sound like me? Is this conveying to the world? Is this really teaching them who I am and who they would get as an employee for their organization or their company? So it's up to you to be really discerning about what is out there and what feels like you and what doesn't. And what doesn't. And thank you.
That's it. So we have, for those of you who are watching this video, or we have a couple of new followers here, if you're interested in learning about our program, please come and join us. We have 2 information sessions, both at noon on Friday, 2 Fridays, the 10th and the 17th of January. We start the following week. We have lots of free content. So we do this business. This is a passion project. We are both women who return to work after career breaks. We offer a lot of content for free. You could probably cobble together a really good plan if you watch all of our YouTube videos. Check out our LinkedIn.
You make it really sick of us, but anyway.
Right. But if you're looking for much more, a faster ramp, a curated community, and instruction in a schedule with accountability.
Well, and then let's get real. We're women, and our lives are filled and busy, and we are often responsible for everyone around us. And what our 10-week course essentially does is it puts a structure into your life to accelerate your job search program and get all those tools in place, and have the accountability to do it, and the community, because I think that's a big piece.
It's a big piece of it.
It's a big piece of it.
So we have both a military spouse program, which is specific for military spouses who have their own set of challenges. That's how we met Megan, and we have one for everybody else. So please check us out. We'd love to see you at our info session, or at least you can find us and get some weekly instruction on both YouTube and Spotify now.
Yes, I know. All right, Meg, do you want to take it away? Where did we?
Yeah, I haven't seen any questions posed in the chat, either on LinkedIn Live or here in the Zoom. If anybody has a question, you can drop it in. Otherwise,
and it's a small group here on Zoom, so you can either turn your mic on and just talk, you can turn your camera on, or write it for Megan to read. Yeah,
I'm happy to read questions out loud if you have something specific you want to ask about. We have about 5 minutes until we need to wrap up. I know a few of your faces in here are familiar faces, prior students of ours, so thank you for joining us. Some of this you might have already known because you're an expert from our course. We would love for you to invite other friends so that they can hear about the Career Relaunch course. We have those 2 information sessions. This is the first time we're offering 2 dates. We just know that in the new year is kind of a busy time with post-holiday things, so we wanted to offer to you twice. So the first is Friday, January 10th, and then the second is Friday, January 17th. The spring course, or excuse me, the winter course is going to run January 23rd until April 4th. So if you're just curious, what are the 10 weeks of the next course? We offer it 3 times per year. So if you're not quite ready to join us, we will have a spring session and again in the fall.
Right.
All right, any questions? I see maybe somebody's typing, no? I don't see anything.
Run over.
Well, it was a lot of information. It was a lot of information.
You can, Megan, how can they get the recording if they joined late? Or
yeah, everybody who registered today, I know a few people were in and out. Everybody who registered will receive the recording in a couple hours after it's through processing. And we'll also include that Connect Message Meet template that Susan and Kelly mentioned. Tina has a question. She just posted in the chat. Tina, I'm going to read it aloud for you unless you'd like to. She writes, would your course help someone who hasn't taken a career break but needs to make a drastic pivot in their direction?
Yes. So yeah, it absolutely will. I would say probably 15% of our students haven't taken a career break, but they're looking to pivot.
Yeah.
And probably 50% of our students took a career break and are pivoting.
Yeah.
Don't want to go back to what they were doing. Yeah. Faye.
Hey, it's so good to see you. I'm glad are you feeling better?
Feeling better, thank you. So I feel sort of dumb asking this question, but I'm a little confused about what exactly you take from LinkedIn, someone's profile, like you were saying, Susan, that you did with your niece, and put it in ChatGPT. What exactly are you copying and pasting from LinkedIn when you're saying, what do these 5 different people have in common?
I just went to their experience sections and cut and pasted there. You can just copy it right there.
Okay.
Copy and paste 5 times.
Okay.
I think I did 8. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I add something? Sorry, my video's not on.
Sure.
There's also,
it's good to see you too. Well,
it's nice to see you both. I miss you guys. When you go to somebody's profile, I think there's a way to download. If you go click on resources, you can save to PDF. And I think that gives the whole profile. I'm not sure. Somebody asked me to upload it on a job site, so that's how I know about it.
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
I suppose that would be helpful. It's just, it might even take more time. I mean, just highlighting, copying, and then having a separate screen right there with ChatGPT and plopping it in. I'm always looking for the easiest way to do things.
Yeah.
Provide a
Yeah, it
little
Right,
doesn't
bit
though.
also, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, it gives the about, but it does give the person the about that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which sometimes might be helpful,
Yeah,
extra
yeah.
information.
It's a
Yeah.
good tip. So you're not copying and pasting 8 sections. It's all in one
Yeah,
copy paste
yeah,
swoop.
it doesn't give like external links or anything. Well, it doesn't give a ton of other stuff, but it's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely worth trying it that way too. Thanks, Ashley.
All right. Well, this is a interesting topic that's always evolving. We did actually present on this, if you remember, for the Mom Project and Power to Fly earlier in 2023. This presentation you received today was really totally different because all of those resources that you mentioned are
There's just so many more of
newer
them.
on the scene, or we've heard from our community, like some are really useful, others are just don't waste your time. So this was very helpful today to kind of see what's helpful today in today's job market. And thank you all for joining us. Again, you will receive the recording, everybody who registered. And thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions.
Thank you, Megan, for facilitating.
Yeah,
Thank you all
thanks,
for
Megan.
coming.
Yeah, hey, thank you for bearing with me at the beginning when I couldn't get the LinkedIn Live to start. We did make it over there, so it's going.
Good.
And the recording will be available on that platform as well. A few nice words are popping in the chat. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Francisca. Everybody's saying thank you for coming and for this information
We're
today.
happy to be here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came.
All
Thanks.
right, everybody. Happy holidays.
Kelly and Susan, bye. Happy holidays.
Bye. Great
Bye-bye.
seeing you. All right,
Nice
bye.
to
Take care.
Bye, y'all.